Thursday morning here on Birds 365 with Mac and Mac. Good get Johnny Mac back with me, Jody Mac. And good to have Ed Kracz join the fray on today's conversation. EK, I asked John this question to start the show, so I want to get your read on it too. 60 minutes, kickoff. Shockingly, Eagles won the toss and decided to defer.
By the way, they can't lose coin tosses.
They same 9-1 on the coin tosses they are on their regular season record.
Yeah. It is unbelievable. No luck to that either. They rep that, Jody. They practice that.
Yeah, right. But from the coin toss, and give them credit if you need to for winning again, to the final gun, what would you give the Eagles' 60-minute grade for the game the other day against Colts?
Oh boy, gosh, I mean they were. I would say they were average, to be honest. I would probably give them a C, maybe a C plus. Maybe a B minus, but I would probably go C plus. I think for a grade. They look like they were dead in the water there, right? I mean, for just over 3 quarters, they did absolutely squatta, as you like to say, Jody, and. I thought they were going to lose. I mean, I think everybody thought they were going to lose.
I thought they were going to win. Come on, Ed. I said it. Yeah. I said they're coming back.
Yeah, you might have. But I was already writing my game story and with the loss, with the slant towards the loss. And I'm thinking, it's going to be a nice, easy day. Get out of here early. Go hit the Steak and Shake or whatever it's called there in Indianapolis. But, the Eagles really showed a lot of moxie and a lot of resilience to come back and win that game. And you really have to give, I think, the defense obviously gets a big assist here, but Jalen Hurts really put them on their shoulders and carried them to those 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
Did Johnny Mac freeze up on it?
Yeah, I think the grades are mixed. Like, I hear you guys. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I thought Jalen played really, really well. I don't think many other people on the offense. The offensive line was okay, but I think the skill people. I think they really missed Dallas Goedert. This whole it's going to take a bunch of people to replace Dallas Goedert. Now nobody's replacing Dallas Goedert. Jack Stoll played significant snaps, but let's be honest, he can't scare defenses from a receiving perspective. They tried to get Boston Scott involved, Kenny Gainwell involved. They had the touchdown to Quez Watkins, so he got a little bit more. But, man, it's going to be tough without Dallas Goedert. I really believe that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an adjustment. They played their first game without him, and, they're kind of feeling their way here. They're playing, it looked like the Colts played A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith a little differently without having to worry about a tight end threat. Like you said, Stoll, he had one. I think he only had 1 target in the past game. So you're really not going to have to worry about him too much if you're a defense. So you can kind of put a lot of your resources into stopping those 2 receivers. And, Quez is the one, and even Pascal, who's probably going to have to step up. And, Quez did a nice job on that 22-yard touchdown. Now, I will say, watching that game again, Jack Stoll made a nice play to kind of clear out the, that part of the field for Watkins. Stoll ran kind of a 10-yard out pattern and took the corner with him. And then they brought Quez over the top behind Stoll, and he left a couple guys trailing in his wake. And it was a nice throw from Hurts. So, I think it's going to be kind of a work in progress as they feel their way through this offense and how it changes now without Dallas in there.
Need both of your guys' takes on this because we had Dom on yesterday when Johnny Mac was out, and he said something that I just couldn't agree with. I try to agree with Dom because I know he knows football the way he does, but if I don't, I don't. We were talking about replacing Dallas Goedert. Where's the offense go if Goedert's not there? It takes a village, all that stuff. He said the Eagles have 2 very good pass-catching backs that they need to use more.
Yeah, I saw Damo wrote that, and I'm like, who? I'm with you. I was an owl. I'm starting who? I mean, you can't call Miles Sanders a great pass catching back. I thought he had the great rookie season, but I mean, we're in year 4 now.
Yeah.
Kenny Gainwell, I thought was going to become a pass catching back. He was great in college at it. I haven't seen it. I mean, yeah, I'm with you, Jody. I can't I can't call them great pass catching backs. Can you, Ed? I mean, not when you're talking about Austin Eckler and guys like that in the NFL.
Well,
Christian
yeah.
McCaffrey.
No, they're not at that level. But in theory, Sanders had the 50-yard catch as a rookie. They haven't thrown to him a whole lot, and I think I would like to see them throw the ball to him a little bit more. They ran that screen, I think it was, with Boston Scott. To me, Boston Scott, he doesn't seem to have that same explosion. Even around the end, that doesn't seem like he has that same burst. Yeah, he can catch the ball, but again, in theory, he can catch the ball. But I don't think you want to be dialing up too much for Boston Scott. And Kenny Gainwell has really taken a step back. He had a drop in Indianapolis. So I don't know what the issue is there. I mean, it's just been a struggle for him. In fact, Scott played more running back reps than Gainwell did on Sunday. I think that's the first time that's happened all season. So. In theory, you like to see them get the ball to guys like Sanders and Scott and Gainwell, but I'm just not sure that's good enough. Maybe Sanders, maybe you want to kind of fire up him a little bit more, on these wheel routes and such. But he did make a really huge play in the game.
Oh, yeah. Biggest play of the game, really. Yeah, we were talking about Zaire Franklin panicked on that. He didn't need to, though.
No, he didn't.
But it was a big play. It was clearly
Franklin had a good game. He had,
I
went back and looked at his numbers, and to be honest, I never heard of him before.
He's a good player.
He punched that ball out to cause the fumble.
I was talking to that with Jody. That was right on the button, Ed.
That was a great play. And he had 12 tackles in the game.
When you punch the football, even A.J. Brown, it's coming out.
I more blame A.J. on that one, but I don't want to relitigate that. But I want to ask a question of both you guys about the pass to the running backs. I said this yesterday, man, maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't think it's a strength of Jalen Hurts. There's an art. There's a knack to being able to throw a screen pass. Now, the one down the field, the Sanders, is just like a wide receiver pass. That's not throwing, even though it's a back that's catching it. To me, that's not throwing it to a back coming out of the backfield. Donovan McNabb used to be really good at it, but I think a lot of that had to do with Brian Westbrook, that he was just so good at it. He made Donovan look better than maybe Donovan was. Judging Jalen Hurts, and we got however many games under our belt now, we should be able to judge him almost 2 full seasons. Is he good at throwing the ball out of the backfield to backs?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really shown that to be the case. Now, I will say he's thrown some nice screen passes to Dallas Goedert.
That's not a back out of the back.
I know it's not a back out of the backfield, but yeah, to make those plays work, you really have to be on target with your throw. You have to hit a running back in stride, right? You can't throw it behind him or too high or too low and, kind of make him slow down. You have to hit him in stride with a full head of steam going up the field. And, you haven't seen that a whole lot from Jalen Hurts or, and Miles Sanders. Maybe, if I really put my thinking cap on, I could think of a player or two that maybe he's made that happen. But yeah, you're right. He doesn't, and maybe Shane Steichen knows it, that he just isn't as effective throwing the ball to the running backs, but that doesn't mean you can't, rep it over and over in practice. I mean, that's just a repetition thing. You're not hitting or doing a lot, but you can still practice that kind of stuff is trying to work on that timing and that, the delivery to get the backs the ball. And, that's what you could work on to get better at it, because I think maybe you should see more of that, especially to Sanders coming out of the backfield. What I don't like is that play they throw to the side, those side screens, to Devonta Smith. They never go anywhere, right? There's little quick throws off to the end of the line.
Sometimes they get illegal man downfield penalties.
Yeah, it's just not an effective play. Yeah. And I'd put that back into the, I'd put it in the incinerator and burn it and not use it after the game. But I would try.
My 2 cents on the Jalen. And Nick has talked about this a couple times when he says you don't know what you have till you have it. Like, Jalen Hurts is better running the football than dumping it off to the back. So why bother dumping it off to the back when he can gas you running the football? I think the Eagles have come around to that way of thinking. But I did want to talk about the running backs in a different way.
Can I just respond to that for just 1 second, John? You're right. Nick's right. Here's the issue. you don't know he's going to get hurt until he gets hurt. That's the
Yeah.
one. That's the one risk you take, and you can take Jalen. Yeah, you don't have to put the ball in the air. It's more secure until Jalen gets a high ankle sprain trying to make a play running the football. There's always that risk. So I think you have to factor that in when you say, "Well, just let the quarterback run it."
Yeah, I can't. You know me, I can't legislate injuries, so I can't worry about him getting it. He's proven to be, like I said, the one time Jalen got injured, it was in the pocket, right? It wasn't outside the pocket; it was in the pocket. But so you can't really control. Coaches always say, "Control what you can control." Here's what I can control, Ed, and that's what I was talking about. You mentioned Boston Scott. Every once in a while, they did it again. He doesn't play all game, and then he's on the field in key spots. Well, I don't get that. I don't. They did it in Detroit way back in week 1, and they did it in Indianapolis late in the game. What do you think? A guy like, is he Mariano Rivera? Is he the best closer in the world? I've yet to see this. What is the thought process behind Boston Scott coming in and close the game at running back?
Yeah,
but he doesn't play the rest of the game.
I think he carried the ball 3 straight times.
Yeah.
You know, late in the game. Yeah. It is curious. I don't know why they do that. Maybe, you know, to speculate. Maybe it's to think the defense would say, okay, here comes Scott. We don't have to worry about a run here. They're going to throw it, and then they hand it to him. But why he's on the field, you know, at the end of the game and not more in the first or second quarter is curious. Yeah, you're right. You have your workhorse and Sanders, guy that scored 6 rushing touchdowns this year.
Yeah,
I mean, I would have him in the backfield. Even
he's
if
a better player. Nothing against Boston. Miles is a better player.
He is. I don't know. It's a curious thing why they do that, and maybe, you know, Shane Steichen will give us an answer. Probably not later on Tuesday, but he certainly.
It's all about the opponent. It's all about the opponent.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
We'll see what the coordinators have to say today. All right, before the coordinators, I got to get both you guys' takes on the head coach. Game ends. They come from behind. Jalen dances into the end zone, and Nick goes jumping up on the bench behind the Eagles bench. There were Eagle fans that had worked their way down to the first couple of rows of the stands. You couldn't really make out if he was communicating with Eagle fans and/or Colt fans, because after the game, he was pretty outspoken about how much winning this game meant to him because of what just happened with Frank Reich. The head coach of the Eagles is not afraid to show his emotions. He kind of wears them on his sleeve more than anything else. And some have questioned the fact that he may be a little too emotional in both the way that he handles himself on the field and what he says after games. I got zero problem with emotional Nick Sirianni. I think it's people just looking for nitpick things to get on his case and/or try and take back a 9-1 team at this stage. Does Nick Sirianni have too much emotion for his own good?
Well, I'm with you. I don't have a problem with it either. I mean, and I think he even alluded to it in an interview that, you know, he's Italian, right? I mean, Italians are known for their emotion. And football is an emotional game. So you have those two factors coming together. And, yeah, it gets emotional. And, listen, the players get emotional too. So when their head coach is getting emotional, I don't think they have a problem with that. I mean, Nick, you know, he knows
one thing. They've got the most unemotional quarterback on the face of the planet. The rest of the team is all emotional, except the guy who gets the ball snapped to him every single play.
I think that works. That yin and yang. I think it's working for the Eagles.
Yeah.
The quarterback is, you know, he is a straight line. And the coach is, you know, I thought he pressed a little bit. Obviously, he tried to play it off, but we know how important this game was for him.
Oh, yeah.
You saw how emotional he got after the game.
Yeah.
I thought he pressed a little bit. That weird, you know, he came out of the 2-minute warning showing the sneak and, you know, calling timeouts. If they don't convert, and by the way, you talk about Jalen Hurts winning the game. That was the play. The play before the touchdown, I think it was 4th and 2.
Yeah. I
mean, he was dead to rights. Indianapolis played that beautifully, and he just found a way to get 3 yards.
Yeah.
But he kind of pressed. He tried to draw him off sides. He wasted another timeout. So if they don't get that, the game's over. they would have had an extra timeout. You never know. Punt the football back if you stop them. I thought there were some instances where Nick Sirianni was pressing in that game as a head coach. Did you get that feeling?
Yeah, maybe. I thought he gave a good answer to that 4th and 2 timeout where he tried to draw him off sides. He said, on Monday that, he looked at it as having 2 opportunities to convert a 4th and 2. The first opportunity being, okay, let's see if we can draw them off. And if not, we'll call timeout, and then we'll take our second opportunity at it, and that's to actually run a play. So that seems logical to me in that situation. My question is, why did they call a timeout after Hassan Reddick sacked Matt Ryan and before their kicker made the kick to put him up 16-10?
Yeah.
I'm not sure why he called a timeout in that situation. Maybe it was to save more time
save 40 seconds, I think.
I think that's probably legitimate, but you still had over 4 minutes and you have your 4-minute offense. You still get the ball back with 4 minutes to go instead of 4.5 minutes to go. But yeah, when you hear it like that, but if I was him, and listen, I'm not a coach. I'm sitting up there in the press box, with all the other guys that aren't coaches. And, I'm thinking, well, why wouldn't, if you tried to draw them off sides after 10 seconds of trying, then you deploy your receivers, then you get into a play and then you run something quick. And then maybe after you back off and start deploying these guys, maybe they jump them because they see everybody moving around, going into motion and initiate a play. But, maybe that's too seat of the pants for Nick Sirianni. He wanted to call a timeout and make sure he had the right play. And you're right, Hurts made a very nice move on that. That whole middle was blocked up.
Yeah.
Oddly enough,
it was blocked
nice
up
job. And he bounced it to the left.
Yeah.
And then 2 plays later or whatever it was, the middle's wide open on the same play. So, I'll say this about that play, that touchdown play, that 3rd and 7 touchdown run is, and Zaire Franklin talked about this after the game, was they were the Eagles gave them a different look. They had Boston Scott lined up next to Jalen Hurts.
Scott
in that
biggest play of the game.
I know, Boston, right. But it was a different look. Usually they run those QB draws. What Franklin said was out of empty sets.
Yeah, out of empty, yeah.
So they put Scott back there and they're thinking, okay, this isn't going to be a QB draw. So they actually think they're going to throw the football. And that confused the Colts defense. So that was kind of an added stroke of genius there by putting Scott back there. Whether that was Steichen or Sirianni, it was a good call.
Yeah.
And give Steichen credit for that. And some people second-guessing Steichen after the game. I know they only put up 17 points, and Hurts had to put up 2 touchdowns in the last 5 minutes to be able to get to 17. But I'm going to give Shane Steichen a little bit of a pass here because they took as many silly penalties as they did.
Yeah.
The startup cost tight end replacements, talk about youngsters, Calcaterra and Jackson stepping in there, both taking really bad penalties at really bad times. Is that Shane Steichen's fault?
Well, no, I don't think it's his fault. No. These guys hadn't played much all year, right? Now here they are in key moments of a game and trying to maybe do too much, and that leads to stupid penalties. So no, that's not Steichen's fault. I mean, they're like we said to start the show, they're still feeling their way without Dallas Goedert. They got to figure it out, what they can do without Dallas Goedert, how to get the receivers more involved, maybe the backs, like you said, Jody, and maybe give some more targets to Stoll and even Calcaterra. His only catch this season was deep down the field, 40 yards. If you're not going to cover these guys, if you're going to pay more attention to the outside receivers, then them open and get them a little bit more involved. So defenses have to pay attention to them.
Yeah, it was the Eagles' second drive. They had 3 consecutive penalties, but 2 of them. Jason Kelsey illegally downfield. Yeah, Jason was really upset by that. Coming off the week where he said complaining about officials is a loser's mentality. He was really fired up. But they always get caught for that because of their RPOs. And that's really sort of give and take. Then Landon Dickerson got caught for holding. That's not typical. And that was Jalen Hurts scrambling. You and I were talking about that, Ed. The offensive line doesn't know Jalen's going, right? And he's behind him, and the defender sort of moves to go to Jalen, and they're blocking, and they kind of get caught for grabbing. So I don't even blame that on Landon Dickerson. And then as Jody mentioned, Tyree Jackson got caught for OPI, and Nick Sirianni's been here for 10 games plus 18 last year. So 28 games. They can't run a rub route to save their lives. So these are all normal issues with the Eagles, and they corrected them. But anytime you have 3 consecutive penalties, that looks bad.
John, which is it? It's normal issues that they corrected them. It can't be both.
Well, the illegal downfield stuff is something you have to deal with when you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts. You have to deal with it. You're going to get caught.
Colts had an illegal man downfield penalty as well. I mean, they got caught with a guy.
See, that's worse because everybody knows Matt Ryan ain't doing anything. We're running the football. With the Eagles, Chicago, Baltimore, it's baked in. If you're going to run that type of offense, you're going to get some of those penalties. And it's baked in because of Jalen Hurts' ability to scramble. And Lane Johnson got caught for holding later in the game. Same thing.
Yeah.
Guy, he doesn't know where Jalen's going. Guy leaves. Lane's got him locked up. And all of a sudden he leaves. And it looks to the official like he's grabbing and holding. I don't know. It's just kind of baked in.
What was Calcaterra's penalty again?
I don't remember Calky's. I have to look it up. Do you remember it? Offhand?
I don't remember.
Oh, I do remember. It was holding. Yeah, Grant Calcaterra can't block.
There were a lot of offensive penalties. And the only reason I bring it up because some people are questioning Shane Steichen that he didn't have enough faith in Hurts until the last possession, that they tried to work around him rather than through him. Not if you keep taking stupid penalties, and it's always that kind of down and distance kind of dictates play calling, and they were behind the sticks as often as they were in the first half because they took too many penalties.
Yeah, exactly.
I would complain about the OPIs. Those, look, they got to clean those up. They got to run rub routes better. I can't complain about, like I said, the Landon and Lane penalties. That's just part of it. The Kelsey penalty, that's just part of having a quarterback like that. You're going to get caught. Calcaterra is a young kid who can't block. Hopefully he gets better at it. But yeah, he's not here to block. I don't know. When you break them down individually, I didn't have that much of a problem. But certainly when you get back to back to back, you get 3 in a row, it looks bad. I'll be the first to say that. But your sense, Ed, I didn't have a problem with those penalties for the most part.
Yeah, I think, maybe the Kelsey one, Kelsey was heard on the mic yelling at the official for calling that. But yeah, I think, as far as the OPI goes, I think they've cleaned that up a little bit better this year. They're not getting called for it as much as they did last year. There were probably a couple times earlier in the season, but I don't think it's as egregious. And then you have a kid like Tyree Jackson out there who hasn't played, since last January. I mean, yeah, he's going to make some mistakes. There's no doubt. And you hope that he can iron some of that stuff out. So, I don't think that was as much of a system OPI, not fixing something as it was Tyree Jackson, just not, having played for so long. So I think they fixed that for the most part, that OPI stuff. You see OPIs across the league. I saw a couple this weekend in games that got called. So, I mean, it does happen.
I saw one. You guys probably missed it because you were at the game. I think it was 1 o'clock games, one of the 1 o'clock games. A receiver blatantly picked off a defender, but he took a dive. He ran into the defender, but then immediately threw himself back and went to the ground, and he completely got away with it. And the guy who got picked off went into the end zone for a touchdown. So if you're going to do it, sell it. Make it look like you're the offended party. And take a dive on the play because it worked famously for, and I apologize for not remembering the players involved or even the team that was involved. But I said, oh my God, that's great. You got to be able to incorporate that into one's offense when you desperately need a touchdown because the guy was so wide open. It was ridiculous. All right, Eddie Kracz, we only got a couple minutes left. We almost got turned the page a little early this week, especially on Birds 365 because we're off on Thursday and Friday. Green Bay Packers coming to town. John and I are both unabashed Aaron Rodgers fans, but he's not having a great year. And the Green Bay defense is coming apart at the seams. This team is not making the playoffs before the year started, this was one of the games I would bet all three of us circled and said, wow, that's going to be a tough one for the Eagles, even though it's here in Philadelphia. Oh, by the way, the Packers have won the last 3 times they've come to Philadelphia. What is up with the Packers? I'm burying them today, officially. They're not making the playoffs. I'm on record as saying
Minnesota was pretty stinking bad. I predicted that one, Jody.
You going to predict the Packers going to catch the Vikings?
No, they're not going to catch.
That's what I was saying. Eddie Kracz, what's up with the Green Bay Packers? Why are they where they are?
Yeah, I had this one circled as a tough game. In fact, I had these next 2 games circled as tough games. Packers, Titans, back-to-back, albeit it's at home, but they were the 2 number 1 seeds in the playoffs last year. Packers, NFC, Titans, AFC. But yeah, listen, I think to me it comes down to their defense isn't as good as everybody thought it was for Green Bay. And Aaron Rodgers just, he's starting to build a little bit more chemistry with Christian Watson.
Yeah.
But, they did not really address losing not only Devonta Adams, but Marquez Valdez-Scantling as well. I mean, that they're 2 big losses in that receiving room. And who did they replace them with? I mean, other than Christian Watson, just not a good enough job on the personnel side of things, I don't think. And Aaron Rodgers looks pretty old to me all of a sudden, and that happens to guys sometimes. And you wonder if it wasn't Aaron Rodgers, if he would be on the bench at this point, and you start playing the young kid who may not be so young anymore, Jordan Love. He feels like he's been on that team for 5 or 6 years. But if it's not Aaron Rodgers, why he's probably on the bench in most franchises. So it's just been a struggle personnel-wise for them. I don't think Rodgers looks as good as he has in the past. This might be the end of the line. We'll see. And then their defense just hasn't lived up to billing either. Rasul Douglas, our old friend, he seems to always find a way to intercept.
Rudy Ford, too. Don't forget Rudy Ford.
Rudy Ford
played okay.
Yeah. But when he's playing a starting role at safety,
that's not good.
I'm not sure that's kind of an ideal thing. But, so I think their defense has been a bit disappointment. Their personnel has been a problem. And here they sit. What are they, 4-7 or 3-7?
They're not very good. But I can't shake it. If Jody knows, I think I always say he's not the best of all time, but I think, when he's at his best, nobody's played the position at a higher level than Aaron Rodgers. Our buddy Howard Eskin always says, if you're scared, go buy a dog. I have a dog. You have a dog. When Aaron Rodgers shows up, I'm going to buy a dog because I'm scared to death of him, even today at 4-7, whatever they are.
Yeah,
they're 4-7, and despite the Vikings crushing at the hands of the Cowboys, they're going to win that division. You kind of hinted at that, and you're not the only one. I've seen others writing articles about time. Jordan Love. They're not going to sit Aaron Rodgers until Aaron Rodgers says it's okay to sit Aaron Rodgers, are they?
No. And that's what I'm saying is if it was anybody other than Aaron Rodgers, I would think that the organization is going to say, hey, let's see what we got in the veteran or the rookie here, or not rookie, but, this kid that's been sitting on the bench, allegedly learning from one of the best. Let's see what he has. But they're not going to.
Allegedly. By the way, they took Jordan Love before the Eagles took Jalen Hurts. There you go.
Yeah, that's true. Another miss there from another organization on Jalen Hurts.
Well, he wouldn't be playing there. It's interesting, With all due respect to Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers isn't getting benched for Jalen Hurts.
No.
But it'd be nice to have him now. But you don't know how things develop in different cities, different coaching staffs, different situations. But it is going to be interesting to see Aaron Rodgers come into Philadelphia. It's Sunday night football too. Another night game. Get ready for
prime
that.
Time. Yeah, it's not a 1:00 game where the Packers would be like, let's go through the motions. They're a prime time game, might have their juices flowing, and even though they're sitting at 4-7 and thinking they're out of this thing, they're playing in front of the nation. They're playing in front of peers, former teammates across the league whose games are over. So maybe that inspires them a little bit. I don't think it's going to be an easy game by any means. The Eagles are going to have to work hard for it. There's no doubt. And, we've seen them have to work hard these last 2 weeks, and they're 1-1 in these last 2 weeks, and probably should have lost on Sunday, but found a way. So we'll see if they can get back to what they're doing. All of a sudden, the Eagles' second quarter magic that was so great, for the first, 8 games, it has gone away.
Dallas Goedert, man.
Yeah, that's part of it. But I mean, they had 127 points in the second quarter in their first 8 games. The last 2 games, they've scored 0. And they've trailed in both games at halftime after not having trailed, and they've had to come back and scratch and claw, like Sirianni said. And I expect probably more of the same against the Packers. I don't think it's going to be an easy game, even though they come in here at 4-7, because, like you said, John, you never know when Aaron Rodgers is going to wake up and recapture some of that magic that he had earlier in his career.
Oh, I give the proper respect to one of the best of all time, but I think the Packers are dead in the water. And I know the quarterback moves the needle more than any other position, and superstar quarterbacks move it than other quarterbacks. I think this is just a dead in the water team, but we'll see if they can rise against the Eagles come Sunday night. Eddie Kracz, always a pleasure. Thanks for jumping in. We will talk to you again next week. Be careful. Late night, I think there's a chance for another McMullen incident. We could have spilling on Sunday night. So
Hey, well, listen, guys, have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Don't eat too much. Have the Tums ready just in case.
That's Ed Kracz here with us on Birds 365. That and John McMullen being a little under.